Commander Gray stood at the observation deck of the Dreadweaver, his four-fingered hands clasped behind his back as he studied the blue planet below. Earth, as the natives called it, looked peaceful from orbit. Too peaceful, he thought, for a world that harbored such dangerous beasts. First Officer Stone, he clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. Show me the surveillance footage again. The tall, insectoid alien beside him quickly tapped the holographic display. Images flickered to life before them. Humans walking alongside powerful creatures, some nearly reaching their hips. The beings moved with predatory grace, powerful muscles rippling beneath their fur. Dogs, Stone said, pronouncing the alien word carefully. Our intelligence suggests they keep these creatures in their homes, Commander. In their homes. His antennae twitched with disbelief. Gray's compound eyes reflected the changing images. Humans of all sizes, even their young. Controlling these beasts with simple vocal commands. In one recording, a creature with sharp teeth and powerful jaws stood guard over a sleeping human child. It defies logic, Gray muttered. No species we've encountered has ever succeeded in domesticating apex predators to this degree. There must be more to it. The door to the observation deck slid open with a soft hiss. Lieutenant Reed, their head of biological warfare research, scuttled in. His carapace was darker than theirs, marked with the red stripes of a science division officer. Commander, Reed's mandibles clicked excitedly. You need to see this. He connected his data pad to the main display. We've intercepted more transmissions about these dogs. Listen. The audio crackled through the ship's speakers. Such a good boy. Who's the most ferocious guard dog? You are. Yes, you are. Gray's antennae stood straight up in alarm. They're programming them through some kind of psychological conditioning, using baby talk to mask combat training. Stone stepped closer to the display. There's more, sir. They have specialized facilities they call dog parks, obviously training grounds. And these. He pulled up another image. They call them dog treats. Chemical enhancement supplements, without a doubt. Commander Gray chittered thoughtfully. A species that can turn natural predators into loyal bioweapons. The High Command was right to be concerned. He turned to his officers. What's most troubling is their casual attitude toward these beasts. They've normalized living with them to such a degree that no one would suspect. Lieutenant Reed's antennae twitched nervously. Sir, we've also discovered they start conditioning these creatures from an extremely young age. They call them puppies in this stage. The humans become very emotional about them. A psychological warfare component. Gray nodded grimly. Fascinating. They've engineered the beasts to trigger protective instincts, even in potential enemies. He couldn't help but admire the cunning of it. Show me one of these puppies. The image that appeared made all three aliens step back. A small golden-furred creature with oversized paws and floppy ears stared at them with large, dark eyes. It was caught mid-motion, mouth open in what humans called a smile, revealing rows of small, sharp teeth. Horrifying, Stone whispered. They've engineered them to appear non-threatening. The perfect infiltration units. Gray straightened his posture, his decision made. We need to acquire one of these creatures, preferably in its early conditioning phase. If we can understand how humans control them, we might be able to develop countermeasures. Sir, Reed's voice quivered slightly. Are you suggesting we capture a beast? Precisely. Gray turned back to the view of Earth. Find me a suitable target. A single human dwelling, minimal security. We'll extract one of these puppies and study it. The humans have mastered something here that our finest scientists never achieved. Complete control over a predator species. We need to understand how. As his officers hurried to comply, Gray continued watching the planet rotate below. Somewhere down there, humans were going about their daily lives, their powerful weapons disguised as pets, waiting for activation. He admired their ingenuity even as it troubled him. Clever humans, he muttered to himself. Very clever. But soon we'll understand your secrets. He had no idea just how wrong his assumptions were, or how much chaos one small puppy was about to bring to his carefully ordered ship. Tom Walker's modest suburban home sat quiet under the stars. The only sound breaking the night's silence was the gentle jingling of Ruby's collar as the golden retriever puppy chased a moth across the backyard. At 4 months old, everything was still an adventure to her. "Ruby, come here, girl," Tom called softly from the back porch. "Time for bed." The puppy bounded over, her whole body wiggling with joy. Tom smiled, remembering how different this was from his days as a military K-9 handler. Ruby was no trained guard dog. She was just a loving pet who thought everyone in the world wanted to be her friend. Above them, invisible to human eyes, 3 alien figures hovered in their stealth suits. "Target confirmed," whispered Stone, checking his bioscanner. "The beast is in the enclosed territorial space the humans call a yard." Lieutenant Reed's voice crackled through their communicators. "Scans show it's a juvenile specimen. Perfect for our needs. But be careful. The handler appears to be a former military trainer. He could activate the creature's combat protocols at any moment." The team watched as Tom went inside, Ruby trotting happily behind him. Through the window, they could see him preparing the puppy's bed, a plush cushion covered in pictures of cartoon bones. "Look!" Stone's antennae quivered. "Some kind of ritual preparation chamber. The symbols must be power runes to maintain the beast's conditioning while it rests." The third alien, Sergeant Buzz, adjusted his capture field generator. "When do we move in?" "Wait for the handler to enter sleep cycle," Stone commanded. "According to our research, humans lower their guard during this period, foolishly trusting in their beasts to protect them." Inside, Tom was giving Ruby her bedtime belly rub, completely unaware of the audience. The puppy rolled over, paws waving in the air, tongue lolling out in pure happiness. "Disturbing," muttered Buzz. "The way it exposes its vital organs must be some kind of dominance display." 2 hours later, Tom's gentle snoring drifted through his open bedroom window. The aliens activated their phase shifters and moved in. They passed silently through the wall into the living room, where Ruby lay curled up in her bed. The puppy's ears perked up. She lifted her head, nose twitching at the strange new smells. Instead of barking, her tail began to wag. "More friends to play with." "It's detected us," Stone whispered urgently. "Quick, deploy the neural suppressor before it attacks." Sergeant Buzz raised his weapon, which emitted a soft purple light. Ruby stood up, stretched with a big yawn, and padded over to investigate the interesting visitors. The aliens froze. "The suppressor isn't working." Buzz's voice shook. "It's approaching." "Stay calm," Stone ordered, even as his own antennae trembled. "The handler's research indicates these creatures can sense fear." Ruby sat down in front of them, head tilted curiously, tail sweeping the floor. When no one moved to pet her, she pushed her nose against Stone's leg and looked up with big, hopeful eyes. It's touching me," Stone whispered in panic. "Some kind of close-range attack." "The capture field, now," Reed's voice urged through the comm. Buzz activated the device. A shimming bubble of energy surrounded Ruby, who looked around with mild interest at the pretty lights. When the field lifted her off the ground, she simply dangled there, still wagging her tail. "Containment successful," Stone reported, his professional tone barely hiding his relief. "The beast shows no sign of resistance. Either our technology has surpassed their defenses, or this is exactly what they planned for," Reed cut in. "Quick, get back to the ship before it activates some hidden capability." The aliens hurried out with their precious cargo, still watching the puppy nervously. Ruby, floating peacefully in the capture field, decided this was a fun new game and tried to catch a passing moth through the energy barrier. Upstairs, Tom slept peacefully, unaware that his new puppy had just been kidnapped by increasingly confused aliens. His phone lay silent on the nightstand, its screen showing the last photo he'd taken, Ruby wearing a tiny party hat at her puppy school graduation ceremony earlier that day. The real chaos wouldn't begin until morning. Commander Gray stood before the ship's highest security containment cell, watching their captured weapon through the energy barrier. The puppy was currently engaged in what his scientists termed aggressive rotation behavior, spinning in circles trying to catch her own tail. "Report," he ordered, as First Officer Stone approached. "Sir, the creature has been in our custody for 6 hours now," Stone began, checking his datapad. "It has displayed several unexpected behaviors." "Explain." "Well," Stone's antennae twitched nervously. "When we attempted to interrogate it using standard techniques, it responded by rolling onto its back. And, sir, I don't know how to say this professionally, but it demanded belly scratches." Gray's compound eyes narrowed. "And you complied with this demand?" "Lieutenant Reed insisted it might be some kind of diplomatic protocol," Stone said defensively. The beast seemed to agree, based on its tail movement speed. Inside the cell, Ruby had given up on her tail and was now presenting her favorite toy ball to every crew member who passed by. The ball had somehow survived the capture operation, and she was determined to start a game of fetch. Most concerning, Gray clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. "It's attempting to distribute some kind of spherical device. Have you scanned it for explosives?" 17 times, sir. It appears to be just a rubber ball." A young security officer walked past the cell. Ruby immediately pressed her nose against the barrier, tail wagging furiously. The officer jumped back, dropping his datapad. "You see," Gray gestured at the scene. "Even our trained warriors react instinctively to its presence. The humans have created something terrifying here." Stone pulled up more data on his pad. "Sir, about the containment protocols. We've had some issues." "What kind of issues?" "Well, the creature kept making these sounds, small whimpers. The night shift guards couldn't handle it. Sergeant Buzz authorized the addition of what humans call a blankie to its cell. For security purposes, of course." Commander Gray walked closer to the barrier, studying Ruby. The puppy immediately sat down and raised one paw, which according to their research was some kind of activation gesture. The commander found himself fighting an odd urge to wave back. It must be in some kind of standby mode, he decided. "Have you tried the activation protocols we discovered in human broadcasts?" Stone nodded. "We've tried 'Who's a Good Dog?' 73 times, with varying inflections. The only response has been increased tail velocity and something our xenolinguists are calling happy prancing." At that moment, Lieutenant Reed rushed in, his carapace gleaming with excitement. "Commander, we've intercepted more transmissions from the handler's residence. Listen." The audio played through the ship's speakers. "Ruby, where are you, girl? Come on. Time for walkies." "Ruby." "There." Reed's antennae quivered. "Walkies. It must be some kind of activation code." They all turned to watch Ruby, who had perked up at the sound of Tom's voice. She gave an excited woof and pawed at the barrier. "Quick," Gray ordered. "Record that sound. It could be the countersign." For the next hour, they played Tom's voice at different volumes and frequencies, carefully documenting every tail wag, head tilt, and playful bounce. Ruby, delighted by this new game, responded with increasingly enthusiastic attempts to make friends with everyone. "Sir," a junior scientist approached nervously. "The beast has started leaking some kind of clear liquid from its mouth region." "Poison?" Gray asked sharply. "No, sir. It appears to be drool, and it happens every time someone walks by with food from the mess hall." Commander Gray chittered in frustration. "None of this makes sense. Where is the fierce war beast our intelligence promised? This creature has had countless opportunities to attack, yet it only seems interested in playing." "Perhaps," Stone suggested carefully, "that's what makes it so dangerous. No one would ever suspect." They all watched as Ruby, having grown tired of waiting for someone to throw her ball, curled up on her blankie and fell asleep, paws twitching as she chased dream squirrels. Maintain continuous observation, Gray ordered. The humans would not go to such lengths to integrate these creatures into their society without reason. We're missing something important here. As he turned to leave, he couldn't help noticing how peaceful the puppy looked. For just a moment, he wondered if perhaps they had made a terrible mistake. But no, humans were clever. This had to be part of their plan, didn't it? Tom Walker woke up to an unusually quiet house. No excited puppy barks, no jingling collar, no happy morning greetings. His military instincts kicked in immediately. Ruby, he searched every room, finding only her empty bed and her scattered toys. The back door was still locked, the yard empty. But there, near her bed, he spotted something strange. 3 small marks in the carpet that looked like insect feet, glowing faintly in the morning light. Tom reached for his phone and dialed a number he hadn't used in years. Major Phillips, it's Walker. Remember that favor you owe me? I need satellite coverage of my house from last night. Someone's taken my dog. Up in the Dreadweaver, Lieutenant Reed burst into Commander Gray's quarters. Sir, we've intercepted alarming communications. The commander quickly pulled himself away from watching the security feed of Ruby teaching the night shift guards to play fetch. Report. The handler has activated some kind of military network. Listen to this. The audio crackled. I don't care what it takes. That puppy is family. We're going to find her and unleash hell on whoever took her. Another transmission. Reed's antennae quivered. They're saying, let's slip the dogs of war. Commander Gray's carapace paled slightly. They're activating more beasts. How many do they have? Meanwhile, in the ship's high-security cell, Ruby had made an important discovery. The energy barrier tickled her nose when she booped it. She was enthusiastically sharing this finding with Sergeant Buzz, who had been assigned guard duty. Sir, Buzz reported through his comm, the creature continues its psychological warfare. It's impossible to maintain proper military bearing when it does the nose thing. In his command center, Gray watched multiple screens showing human communications lighting up across the region. Their encryption experts were working overtime. Sir, Stone called out. Another intercepted message. When we find them, we're taking the leash off completely. The beast has some kind of power limiter. Gray's antennae stood straight up in alarm. Quick, scan the creature for restraining devices. The scan results came back negative, but the human's messages grew more worrying by the hour. That puppy better be unharmed, or someone's going to the doghouse. Time to show them some real animal instincts. Nobody messes with man's best friend. Best friend. Gray clicked his mandibles nervously. They'd weaponized friendship itself. Back on Earth, Tom had assembled a makeshift command center in his living room. His old military contacts had come through. Satellite imagery showed a strange distortion in the air above his house last night, and similar distortions had been tracked to a fixed point in orbit. I'm coming, Ruby, he muttered, studying the data. Just hold on. On the ship, Ruby was holding on, specifically to her favorite ball, waiting patiently for someone to throw it. She had already converted half the security team into reluctant play partners, and her power was spreading through the crew. Commander, Stone reported, we have a situation in the science lab. The research team is showing signs of behavioral changes. What kind of changes? They've started speaking in high-pitched voices and using words like goodest and floofiest. 3 senior scientists have been caught smuggling treats to the creature. And sir, I found these in Lieutenant Reed's quarters. Stone held up printouts of what humans called puppy memes. Gray was about to respond when another transmission from Earth caught his attention. This is a message to whoever took my puppy. I have a very particular set of skills I acquired over a very long career of working with dogs. I will find you. And when I do. The commander looked at the security feed again. Ruby had fallen asleep surrounded by toys that the crew had apparently made for her from spare parts. Even as he watched, a tough-looking security guard tucked a blanket around her. Sir, Stone asked carefully. What if we've made a terrible mistake? Before Gray could answer, the ship's alarms began to blare. Earth's military had found them, and Tom Walker was coming for his puppy. The real question was, would the crew be willing to give her up? Lieutenant Reed stood before the assembled science team, his antennae drooping with exhaustion. Behind him, a large screen showed their latest test results. As you can see, he pointed to a chart labeled Operation Good Boy. We have tried every known method to activate the beast's combat protocols. Nothing has worked. Commander Gray studied the data. Over the past 12 hours, they had played recordings of Earth's fiercest predators. Ruby had fallen asleep during the lion's roar. Attempted to teach her military commands. She learned sit, but only did it for treats. Shown her footage of squirrels. This had caused excitement, but only resulted in playful barks. Tried to unlock her guard dog mode with stern voices. She responded with belly flop requests. What about the latest experiment? Gray asked. Stone stepped forward, looking embarrassed. The Who's a Scary Beast protocol was not successful, sir. The video footage showed a group of serious alien scientists speaking in baby voices, trying to convince Ruby she was terrifying. The puppy had responded by giving them all happy kisses. Sir, a junior researcher raised his hand nervously. I have a theory. What if she's not actually a weapon? The room fell silent. Several crew members who had been secretly petting Ruby during their breaks looked guilty. Explain, Gray demanded. Well, according to my observations, she exhibits pure joy when seeing any crew member. She shares her toys, even her favorite ball. She tries to comfort anyone who seems sad. These are not the actions of a weapon. But the human messages, Reed protested. Unleash the beast, taking the leash off. These are clearly military terms. At that moment, Ruby, who had been brought to the lab for testing, spotted a small maintenance drone. Her ears perked up, tail wagging with excitement. Before anyone could stop her, she began playfully chasing it around the room. Look out, Stone called. She's targeting our technology. But instead of destroying the drone, Ruby played with it, treating it like a new friend. The drone, programmed for basic interaction, started playing back, creating an impromptu game of tag. Fascinating, Reed muttered, taking notes. She can even win over machines. Commander Gray watched as his fearsome military crew melted into smiles at Ruby's antics. Even he had to admit, there was something special about the way she brought joy to everyone she met. Perhaps, he mused, we should consider the possibility that... The ship's alarms cut him off. Commander, a voice called over the intercom. Multiple Earth vessels approaching. They're hailing us. On the main screen, Tom Walker's face appeared. He looked both angry and worried. This is Tom Walker of Earth. You have something that belongs to me, and I want her back. Ruby, hearing Tom's voice, let out an excited bark and ran to the screen, tail wagging furiously. The aliens watched in surprise as Tom's stern expression softened instantly. Ruby, are you okay, girl? Have these beings hurt you? Hurt her? Reed looked offended. We've given her 3 different types of blankets, custom-made toys, and Chef Gordon in the mess hall is preparing her special meals. Wait, Tom looked confused. You're not torturing her. Torture. Gray stepped forward. We thought she was a military asset, a dangerous beast, but she's just been playing and making everyone happy. There was a moment of silence as both species realized their misunderstanding. It was broken by Ruby, who had gotten bored with the serious talk and was now teaching a group of junior officers how to play tug-of-war with a rope she'd found. Perhaps, Gray said slowly, watching his mighty warriors dissolve into laughter as Ruby playfully growled at them. We should talk. But first, could you explain what a belly rub is? She keeps requesting them, and we want to make sure we're doing it correctly. Tom's worried expression turned to amazement as he saw the feared alien commander of a mighty warship asking for puppy care advice. The invasion had failed, but something much better was beginning. The first interstellar playdate. The meeting room aboard the Dreadweaver had never seen anything quite like this. At one end of the table sat Tom Walker, trying not to laugh as Ruby gave enthusiastic kisses to every alien in reach. At the other end, Commander Gray and his officers attempted to maintain their military bearing, despite having pockets full of dog treats. "So," Tom said, scratching Ruby behind the ears, "you really thought she was some kind of super weapon?" The evidence seemed clear at the time. Gray clicked his mandibles sheepishly. The way humans talk about dogs. Guard dogs. Attack dogs. Let slip the dogs of war. And yet, Stone added, tossing Ruby's favorite ball when she brought it to him, "In 3 days she has conquered our entire crew without a single aggressive act." Lieutenant Reed, who had been studying his data pad, looked up. "According to ship's logs, morale has improved 47% since her arrival. Stress-related incidents are down 82%. And the night shift now fights over who gets puppy patrol duty." Tom watched as Ruby climbed into Sergeant Buzz's lap, the tough security officer immediately melting into baby talk. "She does have that effect on people. But I still don't understand. Why didn't you just ask us about dogs?" The aliens looked at each other uncomfortably. Gray spoke first. "In our experience, species that develop biological weapons don't admit to it. We assumed." "You assumed the worst," Tom finished. "Instead of finding a weapon, you found out that humans have spent thousands of years making friends with other species." Ruby, hearing the word friends, gave an excited bark and ran around the table, making sure everyone got equal attention. Several aliens had to quickly hide the toys they'd been making for her in their spare time. "It's extraordinary," Reed admitted, pulling up more data. "We've documented 147 distinct ways she shows affection. The concept of a creature that loves unconditionally, that offers friendship without demanding anything in return except belly rubs. It's revolutionary. And a bit embarrassing," Stone added. "We came prepared for war and were defeated by puppy kisses." Tom laughed. "Well, dogs have been melting hearts for generations. You're not the first to underestimate the power of a wagging tail." Commander Gray stood up, trying to look dignified despite Ruby playfully tugging at his uniform. "Perhaps it's time we revised our first contact protocols. Clearly, any species that can turn wolves into these bundles of joy might have something to teach us." "Sir," a junior officer burst into the room, then immediately stopped to pet Ruby before continuing. "The High Command is demanding an update on the beast weapon situation." Everyone looked at Ruby, who was now lying on her back, paws in the air, making small woof sounds until someone rubbed her belly. "Tell them," Gray said thoughtfully, "that we've discovered something far more powerful than any weapon. We've discovered friendship." Also, Stone added quickly, "Ask if the ship's budget can accommodate a puppy park. For strategic purposes, of course." Tom watched as the mighty alien warriors discussed the proper placement of squeaky toys and the ideal height for jumping obstacles. Ruby had done what she did best, bring out the love in everyone she met. "You know," he said, "there are lots of puppies back on Earth looking for homes, and I happen to know some good trainers." Gray's antennae perked up. "Are you suggesting an interstellar puppy adoption program? Why not? It's better than war." The commander looked around at his crew, the feared warriors of the galaxy's most powerful fleet, all of them now thoroughly wrapped around Ruby's little paw. "Lieutenant Reed," he ordered, trying to hide his excitement, "prepare a full report for High Command on the strategic importance of puppy diplomacy." Ruby, as if understanding her role in galactic peace, gave a happy bark and began distributing her toys to everyone in the room. The invasion force had come looking for a beast, but instead found a teacher, one who showed them that sometimes the greatest power comes in the smallest, fluffiest package. 6 months after the failed invasion of the Golden Retriever, as humans now jokingly called it, The Dreadweaver had undergone some interesting modifications. The high-security containment cell had been converted into a puppy play area, complete with toys, climbing structures, and what Commander Gray insisted on calling tactical rest cushions, dog beds. The commander himself stood in his office, practicing his speech for the high command. A small wiggling creature sat at his feet, wearing a tiny uniform with commander's stripes. "Cookie," he said to his newly adopted German Shepherd puppy, "do you think they'll understand?" Cookie's tail wagged encouragingly. Gray had picked her from Earth's intergalactic puppy program, which Tom Walker now ran. The program had already placed over 100 puppies with alien families. "Sir," Stone entered the office, his own corgi puppy trotting beside him. "The High Command is ready for your presentation." The massive screen lit up, showing the stern faces of the alien leadership. Gray straightened his uniform and began. "Honorable Command, I stand before you to report on Operation Understanding, formerly known as the Beast Weapon Investigation. Our findings have revolutionized our understanding of humanity and warfare itself." He pulled up a series of images: alien crews playing with their puppies, diplomatic meetings where dogs helped break the ice, stressed officers relaxing with their new pets. Humans, he continued, did not create biological weapons. Instead, they achieved something far more remarkable. They learned that true strength lies not in domination, but in friendship, not in forcing obedience, but in earning trust. Cookie chose this moment to playfully steal his datapad, leading to an impromptu game of chase around the office. The High Command watched in astonishment as their fearsome fleet commander baby talked his puppy into returning it. "As you can see," Gray continued, slightly out of breath, "these creatures have taught us something invaluable. The humans turned wolves, apex predators, into companions not through force or genetic engineering, but through love and patience." Lieutenant Reed, who had become the ship's unofficial puppy recreation officer, provided the statistics. Ship efficiency is up 60%. Crew retention has increased by 85%. And we've had 0 incidents of space madness since implementing the mandatory puppy cuddle time directive. Back on Earth, Tom sat in his new office at the Intergalactic Puppy Training Center, Ruby lounging beside him. On his desk sat photos of various alien species with their new pets, a tentacled being teaching its poodle to sit, a crystalline entity playing fetch with a Labrador, and even a gaseous life form who had fallen in love with a tiny chihuahua. His phone rang. "Walker here. Another alien fleet requesting puppy diplomacy." "Sure, tell them to come on down." "No, they don't need to maintain battle formation." "Yes, we have snacks." Ruby lifted her head and gave a small woof of approval. She might not have been the weapon the aliens expected, but she had changed the galaxy in her own way. Meanwhile, in the Dreadweaver's newly installed puppy park, complete with artificial gravity adjustments for optimal fetch conditions, Sergeant Buzz was holding what he called a tactical training session. In reality, it was puppy playtime, with dozens of alien officers watching their dogs romp and play. "You know," Stone said to Gray as they watched the scene, "we came looking for humanity's greatest weapon. And we found it," Gray replied, scratching Cookie's ears. "Just not in the way we expected." The High Command, after watching an hour of similar scenes from across the fleet, had to agree. The official report would read, "Human Canine Alliance, a force more powerful than any weapon." Unofficially, they also requested puppies of their own. That evening, as the Dreadweaver orbited Earth, its crew engaged in various military exercises, playing with their dogs. Commander Gray wrote in his personal log, "We sought to understand humanity's power by studying their beasts. Instead, we learned their true strength, the ability to give and receive love unconditionally." Also, Cookie chewed up another pair of my boots, but her sad eyes made it impossible to stay mad. Note to self: request Earth's secret technology called shoe toys in bulk. As if understanding she was being written about, Cookie placed her favorite ball in Gray's lap, and looked up hopefully. The commander of the galaxy's mightiest fleet immediately abandoned his log to play fetch. After all, some orders you just can't refuse.